we've talked about it so much, it's hard to talk about um, on camera. As you can hear, that's my son. He's 10 months old, and my husband behind him, he tested positive for COVID. I'm out of the woods actually. So I finished my day probably, was it yesterday, and then my son as well, because him and I both got symptoms around the same time. The first person that got it is also out of the woods today, and the last person is out of the woods the 4th. So when it comes to symptoms, when it comes to the strains and the symptoms, is that it hits everybody differently, because like I've said, we're 8 in total and it's not hit us all exactly the same. The other reason I'm filming this is because I can give information on a big age range that we have. I am making this video with permission of my husband for our family. I want there to be hope out there. I was talking with my husband, and all of it is true. I mean, there's, when it comes to symptoms and the situations that can be very bad. However, there are also situations that can be good, and media has not shown that. And maybe because it's media and that's just how it is, I don't know. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna target them. I'm not gonna defend them. But I did want to post videos that show the goodness, the light at the end of the tunnel. Just to give you an idea, my son was born with swollen adenoids. Symptoms that I have had headache, pressure in the chest, hard of breathing, diarrhea, runny nose, body cramp, lots of fatigue. The only thing I haven't had is pink eye. I'm having hair loss still from, so there is side effects after as well. What else? I have had heat, like flashes and chills. I've had once fever. And for my son, yeah, good job. So for my son, what happened was he did have some diarrhea. He had one heavy night of like 6 hours, or not high fever, but right at fever. Like it was at almost at fever, 37.8, and it was increasing and not going down. So before it hit the 38 mark, I just acted, and I'll tell you guys about what I did. And my husband had headache, body aches, and then recently, for the last 5 days, he has no taste and no smell. I also had no taste and no smell, but just for like half a day. My son did too. I think his was for 2 or 3 days. Because I fed him today and he's better. And other people in the house have actually been really well. So just to give you an idea, the other one is way younger than us and not younger than my son. And the other two, so one is younger than us and one is older than us. And both of them have only had, for the older person, that person has only had a cough. So thankfully, again, thank God that even though that person has a lot of past health issues, and is in an age bracket that people are very concerned with, even the health people that call that person, that person is out of the woods today. And that person has only had one day, which I witnessed, chills, and it was about an hour, just really cold, shaking and chills. And then after that, just a dry cough. That is it. Thank God. So those are most of our symptoms. I mean, there must have been some things that I missed, but just so you get the idea. What did we do? So, as soon as the first person, which was the eldest person, started getting symptoms, we started to do our best to isolate and stay away. But we live all in the same house, and so if you have one toilet, it's nearly impossible. I believe that no matter how much you bleach and clean your toilet, the inside and the outside, or your garbage can, once the garbage can opens, I mean, all the paper is there. It doesn't matter how much you change it. I'm having a fever, and I got Motrin. I never gave him Motrin. Usually we just run to Tylenol, but Tylenol did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I know people say, well, it does nothing, it does nothing. Okay, so let me tell you, this is my second time getting, um, getting, so the first time I had symptoms, they caught it too early, so they just kept me in the hospital. Um, I, I was released after I got a double negative, and my respiratory symptoms went away because I was hospitalized, taken my ambulance because I could not breathe. I had a coughing fit. I locked myself in the bathroom so no one would get sick. Ambulance was called because I fell to the ground. I couldn't move. I made it to the living room, to the couch, and I just couldn't move. So that's how I ended up in the hospital in May. Sanitized the bathroom, sanitized my room where I had been in days prior to that, and no one got sick. So we are now in December 2020 and we get sick, all of us. You falling asleep, buddy? Yeah. So what did we do with our son? I gave him Motrin. I gave it as said, like, you know, it stays a range, like I think every 6 to 8 hours or 4 to 8 hours. So I did it right in between my phone in notes, and he was really hot. He had never been that hot before. And he was just like turning into a ball and going, mama, mama, oh, mama, mama. And just wet them so that they'd be a little bit wet, and then put them on the back of his neck, on the bottom of his bare feet, and hold him in his hands. My son again, I called a pediatrician. The pediatrician said it was fine. Pediatrician also said that there's not much that can be done for babies, especially if they're still eating and playing in between their sleep times. Of course, they're going to be more sleepy. What I did, I took extra strength Tylenol and ibuprofen. And the reason I did those combinations is because that's what they gave me when I was being treated at a hospital in May. Please call your doctors and your pediatrician, and or the hospital. Just call a doctor. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people are afraid of testing. I understand that there's a fear of the strain. It could be heavy, and there's like not a lot of bad things that do happen. However, this is how I see testing. If you test right when your symptoms begin, you can save everybody else in your family a lot of headache. One, if they are working, they must stop working. People in this household have had to stop working. Two, they have to find out where to get, you know, like groceries and whatnot. So this is the other thing. If there's a person that tests positive in your household and you have been exposed to that person some way, somehow, you cannot leave the house. So this is why you want to test as soon as you get symptoms. There have been sayings of people that get scared that they're just going to be dragged into a hospital or taken into a hospital, or, you know, forced to. I mean, that's not how that works. You don't want to spread this to anybody else because, like I said, you don't know how other people are gonna, their bodies are gonna take it. You don't know if the strain will be harder on them. You don't know. So we don't have anywhere to go anyways. I have a 10-month-old. Where can you go? Everything is closed. We haven't had anywhere to go anyways. So the question then would be, how did we get it? I don't know. The older person doesn't know. Nobody knows. The only place that we have gone to is the grocery store to buy our foods when we were not with any symptoms, when we were not positive, when none of this was going on in our household. The only other people, the people that work in this household have gone to work and home. That's the only place we have gone way before. However, days prior to that, to the first person catching, that person didn't go to the grocery store. Guys, you look crazy sanitizing, you know, wearing masks, changing the masks, change your clothes, washing the stuff. Like, it's just people, we look at each other. Some of us are like, oh, you're over exaggerated. Some of us are like, oh, you're not doing enough. But I mean, we look nuts. I feel like globally we look nuts, like scrubbing ourselves constantly. Like, my hands started bleeding from how much sanitizing and cleaning, and it's just, but it happened. We're here. So how did we ride it through? One big thing that I read on the government page when I found out my son had it, your mental state. So kids thrive on parents' reaction. If mom and dad are all like, oh, you know, I'm gonna, like, this is it, I should have done this, you know, like, yeah, we're gonna have moments of that, because that's also one of the side effects. You can have moments of anxiety and all this stuff like that. It's gonna happen. However, sitting in it and letting your children sit in it with you makes their immunity go down. My son, he has no clue what's going on. He just, you know, he sees maybe dad take a nap or mom take a nap more often or longer, but his routine pretty much spot on. Unless we can't do something, then that's fine. We're not like strict about it. It's kept him really well. He did have times where he didn't want to eat solids, but that I wouldn't let it happen. So what I would do in that case is, you don't want to eat now, that's fine. You know, you don't want to have your breakfast now. We would wait, you know, let him play. And then after that, before he'd go to his next nap, give him some of his favorite food, which was like oatmeal and some fruits and bananas. Maybe he didn't want to have the breakfast that I had prepared for him that day, right? So, but always having his routine. He has not missed a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and he's not missed his liquids. He's not missed lactin, you know, pee, and number 2. He's been good with that because we did our best to keep routine. Sleep, that's something else, only due to the fact that he had very severe abdominal pain. Like I said, we're out of the woods now. However, we must stay inside until the last person has finished isolating. When we finish isolating, each person has to call, you know, public health line or telehealth, and tell them, kind of like a reminder, today my day is up. And then they just keep tabs on everybody to stop the spread. Another thing that I think is important for people to know that no one talks about, especially if you have travel plans, don't go, because you have to test again to get on a plane or to leave the country. Once you test positive, even though you are no longer contagious after the 14 days, if you test again after the 14 days, you will still test positive. Why? Because it stays in our system for a couple more months. So don't do it. Don't keep your money. The next thing that we did, we have like 7 bottles of vitamins, and we have multivitamins as well, but the multivitamins are in low dosage. So we got extra vitamins for things that we felt we were lacking in. What was the scariest for me? So I had one night where I was taking care of my son, and since my husband was, I think, the second last one to get it, he was resting and I was alone with my son, and I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. I felt like this huge ball inside my throat, behind my nose and everything, and I could not breathe. My legs were starting to shake and tremble, and I lost like weakness. I had weakness in my legs, and my son was asleep, but I was watching after him because he periodically gets up in the middle of the night like ow, ow, oh, oh. So during that time, and I got scared, and so I woke up my husband, and I had this inhaler which expires in 2022, and I don't suffer from asthma or anything, but I had this one time where I got really sick, and I was sent an inhaler. So I ran for the inhaler, and maybe like 5 minutes after, I was good. For my husband, I think the hardest part for him, that he is constantly like, I can't believe this, why is this happening, which we want to make a video on it and we'll see, is his taste and smell absolutely gone. Like, I gave him this nasty tea yesterday with bitter melon and sage and like something like no citron, but the off-brand version, and he couldn't taste it at all. He just chugged it like it was a juice or water. So even though like I eat chips or whatever, like spicy chips, he couldn't taste it. He's like, I know this should be spicy, but I don't taste it. So he's just eating for keeping healthy, because I've told everybody in the house, like, you have to eat regardless if you're hungry or not. You have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have to eat, because in the hospital, even though I didn't want to eat when I was hospitalized, they made me eat. So that's another thing. So we're thinking of like maybe ordering on Amazon some nasty things for him to eat and making a video like that, because our strain, thank God, has not been strong. What else can I tell you? The liquids. I remember in the hospital, they kept bringing me these big like things of ice with water. A light strain like this, it's really about keeping calm. When it's a heavy one, I don't know. I can't talk on that, and I won't. And you got to do whatever you got to do to make yourself feel calm. It was really bad. I witnessed 2 people die that day from COVID. Because I was in the COVID section. I had my room to myself. Everybody did at that point in May. So, and it was crazy, and it was overrun. It was. And there wasn't enough nurses, and there wasn't enough doctors on that time. But they did what they could, and 2 people did pass away. I did witness that, their bodies be taken away. I witnessed when they came in, and I witnessed them coming out. So I'm not making this a light situation. I know that there's very difficult situations with regards to this virus. However, I don't think that it's right to just show one side of things. So I wanted to show this side. In saying that, I'm very thankful with God for allowing us to, breathe today, be here today. There is a lot of side effects that can be left, but we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on the day-to-day in this house and going through stuff day to day. Now, with regards to anything else that you have questions, just ask. Please ask in the comment section. Do know that YouTube is cracking down on people's comments. So for those people that flag or say terrible things, they actually can trace you back now. So I would be careful if I were you. If you don't like what you're seeing, just go somewhere else. That's what I do. So I hope this helps people. I'll try to make the videos more interactive when people are awake.